Welcome back, everyone. In the last video, I challenged you to utilize our new matcher action creators inside of your cart reducer. So there's a little bit of difference in how we do it inside of this code than how we do it inside of our category reducer. To begin with, we need to import in all of the appropriate files. So first, we need to import in any action from Redux, because that is going to be the type that we receive for our action. And we also need to import in the respective action creators. So here, let's just go into cart action, and let's bring in our set cart items as well as set is cart open. The first thing we want to do is we want to type the actual cart state. So here we'll say export type cart state, which is equal to is cart open, which is a Boolean value. And then cart items is an array of cart items. So we need to bring in our cart item type, like so. And now we can set this initial value over to our cart state. And what we want to do next is we want to also update this action. So one thing that we were doing before is that we were setting this action equal to an empty object, because sometimes we might get these reducers called and they may not receive the full action. So we assume that this might be an empty object by default so that we can destructure something or attempt to, so that we don't get errors. But in our new patterns, we don't actually use this destructuring anymore. So we actually don't even need this equals. We can just go directly, action is equal to any action. And now we know that we will also always return a cart state from our reducer. And then we just need to update our switch cases. So first we just say if our set cart items, or actually let's start with set is cart open. If this matches the action, then we know that we can simply update the is cart open. Actually, I copied over the wrong one. Let's update this like so. And then just fix up like so. Of course, we don't have a payload destructured. But again, because of our type predicate function, we'll notice that our action is definitely going to be set is cart open, and our payload is definitely going to be a Boolean. The next one that we need is our set cart items dot match on the action. And similarly, we will return the appropriate state updates. Cart items points to action payload, and then by default, we return the state. And that's it. That's all we need here. We can just remove our cart action types. And now our cart reducer is also typed. It's much simpler now because, again, we've already done this before. The first time we did this with our categories, it took significantly longer, because we had to go through all of the learning of how to make these matchers and setting this up for the first time. But once you get those repetitions in, it just gets much easier. And here as well, as I mentioned, we no longer need this equals. We can just set this equal to any action. Now, one more thing to type for our cart is our selector. So let's update this to TS. And as I mentioned before, we can't type this state yet because, again, we don't have all of our reducers typed. And unless we have them all typed, we actually can't type the root reducer, which will give us the value for this state type. Instead, we just need to type what we can. So here inside of our select cart, we know that what we're going to get back from select cart reducer is the cart state. So all we do is import in cart state and set it to the outputted value from here. And now automatically what we notice is that everything else gives us what we want it to give. So select cart count, of course, returns a number. Select is cart open returns a Boolean. Select cart total returns a number. All of these are now intuitive enough to know, based on the inference of the actual top level cart state, what all of the subsequent values are. So this is a very, very powerful thing that comes with our selectors as well as TypeScript due to the natural inference. Because we've typed what this initial entry reducer gives back, which is the cart state, all of the subsequent derivations are going to be automatically inferred. If you reduce over cart items, and we know that this is a number, then automatically cart item, we're using the quantity, which is a number, you can only get back from this reduce a number. That's the power of this technology with TypeScript and these inference engines that come with VS Code. So easy. It makes our lives so much easier. If you want, you can type them so that it's more explicit and you can see it. But a lot of times I like referring simply to use the actual inference engine so that it makes my life easier and I don't have to type as much, but I still get all the benefits of TypeScript. Now, one thing I do want to mention is that when you switched over from .js to .ts or even .jsx to .tsx, if you were using a import where you were referencing the path of a value for one of these files where you explicitly had said .js, what will happen is that now you'll notice that this import will fail because we no longer have cartaction.js. This is now a cartaction.ts. This is why it's important for you not to include the actual end of the file, the extension, when doing these conversions. We rely essentially on Webpack and Babel to transpile our code down and know the correct endings and infer the type of file from that. Again, we'll discuss that later in the Webpack Babel section. But for now, if you're noticing that you're not actually able to finish any of your imports as you go through this process of migrating your files over to TypeScript, this is an important thing to keep in mind. So now that we've finished up with our cart store, let's move on to our user store. So try that yourself. You'll probably have to also type the Firebase utils, but just give it a try. And in the next video, we'll do it together. I'll see you in the next video.